All right. All right. I think we're live in the group. I'm gonna wait just a second, see if anybody hops on. I'm actually pulling up my own Facebook. Yeah, we're live. All right, sweet. We are live. All right. I think I saw that we're live. There we go. We are live. Everybody, if you're hopping on, I'm just gonna take 1 second to tag the people that wanted to be tagged. If you can hear me, see me, just let me know. Gail, thanks for the wave. Gail, let me know if you can hear me okay. Hopefully you can. Sorry, it's a little dark. I'm in a new place. I am in Washington, D.C. I'm staying here for at least a month and maybe 2 months after this as well. I don't know yet, kind of up in the air. One of the benefits of being able to work from anywhere. Katie, what's going on? Being able to work from anywhere, mainly because our business revolves around just having access to the internet. So I'm super pumped. I am in Washington D.C. I'm actually staying in an Airbnb. Hence the darkness. I don't really have great control over the light. So as long as you can hear me, that's what's most important. I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that Alex and I made launching our first online course and how it ended up costing us well over $10,000. So if you're interested for that, if you're watching this live, go ahead and comment live. If you're watching this on the replay, comment replay. Again, the reason we ask for comments is it pushes this up into other people's feeds. So that way, if they wanted to see it, there's a better chance that they're going to see it. We want this to reach as many people as possible. It's just the way that the algorithm works. So if you're watching this live, please go ahead and comment live. If you're watching this on the replay, please comment replay. Bear with me for 1 second, guys. I'm going to tag all the people who wanted to be tagged. Gail's already on here, so we don't have to do that. Let's do this. Lori's on here, so I don't have to tag her, which is awesome. We tag just a few more people. I want to know if you're watching this right now. If you're watching this right now, who currently has an online course or who wants to have an online course or online business? If you currently have a course, what is it called and who is it for? And if you want to have a course, what do you want it to be called and who do you want it to serve? Because we're going to be diving in. We're going to talk a lot about the mistakes that Alex and I made in the beginning. Okay, Robert, Dustin, Jeremy, Bill, Tim. Just make sure Dustin, Bill, tagging all the people. Jeremy. We got one more. Tim. Cool. All right. That's not what I wanted. Let me get this. Tim, Reed. Okay. Cool. We're good to go. All right. We got some people on here. I'm super pumped. Gail says currently working on her online business and possibly a course in the future. I have no idea what to name it. Oh man, I've been there. Coming up with names can be really tough. It's something that actually Alex and I this past weekend, for some of you who were at the mastermind event, also had to experience coming up with naming things and coming up with creative names was actually one of the harder things that we had to deal with. So Gail, I feel you on struggling with coming up with a name or not knowing what to name a program. We're going to dive in. I am super excited. We're going to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that Alex and I made launching our first online course and how those mistakes cost us more than $10,000. How many of you would be pretty upset if you lost out on $10,000 or more? If you're watching this right now, if you're watching this on the replay, if you would be bummed out that you missed out on over $10,000 in business, just comment bummed. Comment bummed if that would be you, because for me, I look back and Alex and I look back and we just realized, wow, if we had known ahead of time, if we had known now, if we knew then what we know now, man, oh man, the things that we could have done, the amount of people we could have reached more than anything else beyond the numbers of money and all that, just the amount of people we could have reached could have been so much drastically higher. So gosh, it just crushes me a little bit to think about that we gave up more than $10,000 in business, but it was a lesson well deserved. I don't deserved, but one that I'm actually grateful for looking back. So, all right, we're going to dive in. I know you've been on here. Let me pull up my mistakes real quick. The number one mistake, the very first mistake that we made was we did not get specific. Actually, you know what? Before I say it, I'm just gonna, if you're listening to this on the podcast, hold on a second. Okay. All right. So I wrote this down. Number one mistake we made was we did not listen closely enough to what our audience's biggest pains and desires were. I'm going to say that again. The number one, the first mistake, so not the biggest, but the first mistake we made was we did not listen closely enough to what our audience's biggest pains and desires were. I don't know if anyone has the ability to write this one out, but number one, if you want to put in the comments, if someone wants to take notes as you're going, taking notes can be a really great way to be active with what you're learning, is we did not get specific enough on our audience's pain point. We did not get specific enough on our audience's pain point. So what I mean by that is we had started this Facebook group. And if you've just recently joined this group, or if you've been in for a little while, Alex and I started this Facebook group 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, really just to educate people on the things we were learning ourselves, like how to set up an email account, how to actually create a lead magnet, like how do you create a free report, how do you put it behind an email opt-in so you could collect someone's email opt-in, how do you write an email automation, how do you even make Facebook posts, how do you make your first Facebook ad? All of these things that we were learning, we thought, well, let's just put it in a group and share it with our people. And so that's what we started to do. I am sweating, guys. It's so hot in this apartment. There's no air conditioning. It's like, oh, man, if you're watching the video of this and you see me just sweating, I promise I'm not nervous or anxious. It's just super hot. So we started the Facebook group. If you've been a member of the group, I'd love to know if you've gotten value out of this Facebook group. If you have gotten value out of this group, just drop a love button or comment value if you've gotten any value out of this Facebook group. We wanted to just post everything that we knew. And so that's what we started doing. We started posting content. We started putting everything in here to the point that it was overwhelming to our audience. And our audience, the people in the Facebook group, were like, hey, can you guys put this into a course? Is there any way that you can package all the videos that you're doing? And if you're not familiar with this group, our first product was this giant online marketing comprehensive course. I mean, it goes through, I wish I should find some time to pull it up and show you the initial iteration of it. It was, emails, it was Facebook, it was advertising, it was building your own online course. I mean, almost anything to do with online marketing was in this course. In Alex and I's minds, it was the end all be all of things that we knew about online marketing, about creating online courses. In terms of depth of like covering subjects, it is by far and away the biggest, most comprehensive course that we have ever put together. However, we made the mistake of thinking that that is exactly what people wanted. And it actually ties into mistake number two. And mistake number two that Alex and I made was that we did not have a course that took someone from point A to point Z. So if you're going to have an online course, just let me know if this makes sense, right? If you go into a course, a college course, a high school course, there's usually a sequence of things that you go through in order to say, hey, you have successfully learned enough to move forward. And a lot of it's on the same path, right? There's no one general class of high school, right? There's not a general class where a third of the class is Spanish, a third of the class is social studies, and a third of the class is English. They're all broken into their own individual courses. Like every class has its own individual focus, right? It would be really confusing as a student to say, oh, hey, 15 minutes we're doing chemistry, and then the next 15 minutes we're doing math, and then the next 15 minutes we're doing, I don't know, music, right? It would just be crazy. It would be very, very crazy. And this is where Alex and I really messed up in our first online course launch. The very first course did not take someone from point A to point Z. It took everyone to point like W, but in all different directions, right? And like every different direction possible about online marketing, it went out there. So mistake number 2, Lori, if you're typing this out, you are a saint for typing this out. Thank you so much. Mistake number 2 was we did not have a clear A to Z path for our students. We did not have a clear path from A to Z to take people through. There was no, hey, by the end of this, you're going to be able to do this. We pretty much sold it under the guise of this is the base library of online marketing videos that has ever existed in the physical therapy and healthcare world. And it's got everything you need. And it wasn't like, hey, after you take this course, you will now be able to get more clients or be able to have an online business or be able to, do online personal training. There was no specific end result of the course. So that was mistake number 2. Let's go back. Mistake number 1 was we were not specific enough with what our audience wanted. And mistake number 2 was we did not have a clear path from A to Z for our students. And at the end of this, we're going to come back and I'm going to tie in how we made the changes and how making these changes has made all the difference in the world for our business. So mistake number 1, not getting specific enough on solving one pain point that our audience had, right? Finding the most significant pain point and addressing it. Number 2, we didn't take students on a clear journey from A to Z. Laura, you said it so much better than I did. Didn't take students on a clear journey from A to Z. And then number 3, easily our biggest mistake, even with number 1, even with number 2, even with not being very specific on the pain point we were solving, and also not taking people on a clear path from A to Z, we still had packaged something that people wanted. And in our very first launch, we sold $10,000 of our first online course. It was $100 to buy it, and we had 100 people buy it. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. To this day, it's still, we've had much bigger launches, much bigger course sales, but it was the first validation for Alex and I that, man, we might have a business here. But what we really lacked, and this is key, this is where we missed tens of thousands of dollars. I'm convinced that we could have made tens of thousands of dollars more, was the fact that we did not follow up with people who were interested in the course. I'm really curious for you guys who are out there. Well, actually, let me explain this first, right? So here's how this worked. We had a wait list for people who wanted access to our very first course, which I think was called Healthcare Digital Marketing Success Course. Super sexy name, I know, Healthcare Digital Marketing Success Course. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. I'm pretty sure you can still buy it to this day. I don't even know what the link would be. It's crazy how things change fast. I don't even remember where I was going with that, but we had a wait list. So we pushed people to a wait list and we said, who wants this, right? And we had at least 200-300 people say they wanted this course when it came out, right? Now, early in our early days, we assumed that everyone who signed up for the wait list would want to buy the course. That was a huge, huge lesson for us. Not even half of the people who signed up for the wait list ended up purchasing the course. And this is a really important lesson of online, of in person, of when people tell you I'm interested and they give you a verbal commitment or an online, a digital commitment of giving their email, their name, their phone number. That is only half of the battle. And I would say maybe even closer to a third of the battle. And if this is you right now, and if you're collecting, let's say you have a free report on your website, or you're running an ad for an offer, or you just have a sign up for my email list, opt in on your website. When people opt in, are you guilty of thinking that, oh, they're going to turn into a customer now, or that they're surely going to call me, they're surely going to become a customer? I would love to know if you have fallen into that trap of thinking. If you have, just let me know. Let me know, just say trap. If you feel like you've ever fallen into the trap that, hey, I put out this free report someone opts in, that must mean that they're going to call me, become a patient, or they're surely going to take action after doing that. If that's you, whether you're watching live or on the replay, just comment trap. Excuse me. It is one of the biggest things that we have learned over time is that you cannot assume that someone who tells you they're going to sign up for your course or get your free report is actually going to make that final step of commitment. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten excited, like, yeah, I'm going to buy your course. Great, here's the information. And then nothing. And I don't know about you guys, but it's the same with patients. If you're in a private practice or if you work somewhere, right? It's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to come in. You're like, okay, call me. Great. You assume they're going to call you and you don't hear from them for weeks. If that's ever been you, I want to know. Just comment me if you ever feel like that's been you. You've waited like, oh, they're surely going to come in. They gave me their word. They're going to call me. They definitely need me. I convinced them of value and they're going to come in. Well, here is the mistake that we made. We sent maybe 2 or 3 emails to our waitlist, letting them know that our course was now available for sale. And this was over, a period of a week. I think we opened it on, I don't even remember what day, but it was, we opened it, and then a week later, we closed the course being open for sale, right? We had over 300 people on a wait list saying they wanted it, right? And so we sent out 3 emails over the course of that week saying, hey, get it, get the course if you want it now. It's open, it's never gonna be this cheap again. And 100 people bought. And it was amazing, don't get me wrong. $100 at $100, 100 people bought at $100. It was the very first time I had ever made more than like $300 in one transaction online, and blew me away. And luckily then I didn't know what I didn't know what I didn't know, which was if I had followed up with people more, if we had sent out 10 emails instead of 3, if we had sent private messages to the people who were clicking on the sales page link in our emails and followed up with messages, we probably could have made 100 to 200 more sales, meaning 10 to 20,000 more dollars of sales. That is the huge, huge mistake that we made that cost us tens of thousands of dollars. Those are the 3 mistakes, and I want to tie in what we learned. Thank you, Lori. Yes, number 3, did not follow up with interest and ask for a call to action. Lori, you're an amazing note taker. Oh, man, you're saying it, you're writing it better than I can even say it. Okay, so let's go back real quick, number 3, because we're gonna dive back into these. The 3 biggest mistakes that we made launching our first online course. Number 1, we did not get specific on the pain point that we wanted to solve for our audience. We decided to try to solve all pain points instead of focus on one specific pain point. Number 2 was we did not make our course a clear path from A to Z for someone to get a specific outcome. So like we were talking about before, our course was Healthcare Digital Marketing Success, and we literally taught essentially an online college course on all these things of different topics, right? We were teaching chemistry and math and science and social studies, right? We weren't teaching fully in depth on just social studies, right? I know these are weird analogies, but in this case, right? We didn't just focus on one thing, and we didn't give someone clarity on what the outcome was going to be for them. So really the only outcome we sold them on was, hey, you know that we've been doing a lot of these videos. It's been overwhelming because that's the feedback we've gotten, because there's so many. We put them into an online library for you, and here you go. And that was it. That was our sales pitch. There was no like, here's the transformation you're going to get. Here's the outcome you're going to get. It was just, here's a library of stuff. Do you want it? And luckily we had provided so much goodwill to people, just like we've been doing pretty much every week for well over 2 years, coming in and teaching and educating and showing people what exactly it is that we do. So number 2 was we didn't have a clear path. Number 3 was we did not follow up with the people who said they were interested and didn't end up buying. And there was a lot of, I look back, and a lot of it I think was we just felt guilty. We felt like, oh, isn't that spammy to follow up? Isn't that bad to send more emails? Like, won't that make us look bad? Won't people not want to talk to us? I want to tell you a story. And I really hope this will demonstrate. Do you want to know? I really want to know right now. It looks like there are 13 people on this live stream. If you're listening to this on the podcast, shoot us an email after or Facebook message after. I want to know, do you want to know the difference? Do you want to know, instead of $10,000, what happened in our next launch once we change these 3 things? Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess the difference? So what we sold at $10,000 to what we made in our next course launch, our second course launch, the difference financially. I would love to know comment-wise. I would love to know comment-wise. If you're watching this live, after we fix these 3 things, I want to know, do you think it was a $100 difference? Do you think we lost money? Do you think it was a $1,000 difference? A $5,000 difference? Like, how much of a difference do you think fixing these 3 things meant to our business? It blows my mind to think about this. So I want to, before I tell you the numbers, so if you're listening to this, I want you to keep comment. Let me know what you think the difference was. Was it $100? Did we lose money? Was it $1,000 more? Was it $5,000 more? David just says, tell me. Dustin says 10x. Christine says 2x. I think you tipped what you made the first time. I think you tripled what you made the first time. Awesome. Thank you for the feedback, guys. Okay. So here is a story. We made a poll in our Facebook group. After our first course. And we said, what specifically do you want to know about the most? And overwhelmingly, the response was Facebook advertising. We want to know how to do Facebook advertising. Here's the funny thing. People didn't say, I want to know Facebook advertising to get more clients, or more customers, patients, clients. They just said, I want to know Facebook advertising. That was it. That was the number one pain. There were some others that were listed, but that was by far and away the pain point that people had listed. So we looked at, if we're going to make a new course, what should we cover? It was right there in front of us, Facebook ads. Ads for PTs who want to do advertising on Facebook. Okay, so we fixed number one. We knew what our next course launch was going to be about. It was going to be a course that taught people one specific pain point, which was Facebook advertising for physical therapists. That was the only pain point we were going to solve, right? We could have talked about emails. We could have talked about, how to make an online course. We could have talked about making websites. We could have talked about all of that. But people said they had one big pain point. The most painful thing for them was not understanding Facebook advertising in this world. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, we realized if we were going to teach Facebook advertising, we couldn't just teach principles here and there. We needed a strategy to take someone from, hey, you've never done this before, point A, to point Z. You can push a button and put a campaign on autopilot and have clients, patients, customers opt in and call you. Point A, not even knowing how to open up Facebook, to point Z, being able to push a button to have a campaign continually run, to have people to opt into an offer and you can call them or they call you. Now, does that sound pretty clear on the outcome this time, right? If I were to say, hey, would you like an ad campaign that's always running? All you have to do is click a button and people will either call you or give you the information for you to call them. If you would want that, just say yes or no. Like, just let me know yes if you feel like that would be something that would be amazing. If you could go from A to like, I don't know anything, to Z, hey, I actually can press a button. I have a campaign that I can put out there that people can opt into, give me their information, I can call them, or they'll call me directly. Like, that was the one specific outcome. Remember, there's all these things that we know, just like many of us are physical therapists, OTs, speech therapists, doctors, that there's so many problems that we can solve. But we had to listen to the people in front of us that were saying, I want to learn this one thing. Facebook advertising is the number one thing that I want to learn about. We had to put our ego aside and say, hey, we could teach you so much more. And there's so much more. But we had to focus on one thing, right? Okay, so number two, we focused on that one thing. We solved the number two mistake that we made, which was not having a clear A to Z path. And we created Facebook ads for physical therapists, taking you from not knowing how to open up Facebook to pushing a button that can then put a campaign on autopilot running that has the potential to bring people in through an opt-in, or they call you directly. That was the outcome. Okay, so I want to tell you what happened before I tell you about number 3. I want to tell you what happened. Alex and I were really excited. We had figured out number 1 and we had figured out number 2 in our mistakes, right? We got really clear on the one pain point we were going to solve. Number 2, we were going to have a clear customer path, A to Z. Dustin, dude, thanks for hopping on. Listen to the client. They'll tell you exactly what they want every time. Perfect. Dude, Dustin, I got to get back to you soon. It's been crazy. I'm moving to DC. I'm actually in DC right now getting set up. I'll reach out to you. So number 1, we got clear on the pain point we were going to solve. 2, we came up with a clear path. We mapped it out ahead of time. How could we take someone from not knowing anything about Facebook to running campaigns on autopilot that could have the potential to bring in new patients? Here's what we did. We thought we were gold, right? We thought we were set. And what we did was we ran a webinar. We ran the biggest webinar we've ever run. We had like 500 people register. We had over 100 people sign up to tune in live. We gave away an Apple Watch. We gave away tickets to SSPT Live. We gave away email campaign scripts. Like, we gave away everything. It was like an online party. And Alex and I even got Greg Todd, the GT, the Greg Todd, to make an entire course to add on to our course to make the most incredible offer. Guys, we made this course. Oh, I gotta explain this. Okay, real quick. For those of you who are watching this live, if you don't know Greg, Greg is amazing. He's an incredible marketer, incredible business owner. He owns 3 clinics in the Tampa area. If I told you that you would get a Facebook ads course that took you from point A to running campaigns on autopilot, plus an entire course from Greg Todd on how to follow up and sell to leads, how much do you think that would go for? I'm super curious. Do you think it would be under $1,000, $1,000 to $2,000, $2,000 to $5,000, or $5,000 plus? Like, our course, taking you from Facebook ads, not knowing anything from Facebook, to running campaigns on autopilot. On top of that, adding in an entire course from Greg Todd, teaching you how to sell to leads from online. How much do you think that course would sell for? I really want to know. How much do you think that course would sell for? Oh, by the way, we threw in 10 hours of virtual assistant time for anyone who bought. So let's go Facebook ads course plus Greg Todd's selling course, teaching you how to sell, get on the phone scripts, how to sell, and then also giving you 10 hours of virtual assistant time, already prepaid time with virtual assistants, help you with graphics, help you with video editing, help you with all this stuff, right? Alex and I were like, we were through the roof, right? So Dustin says 3K minimum. David says 3,999. Gail says 6K. Guys, we sold this for $1,300. $1,300. Here's the kicker. This was the most incredible offer we had ever come up with. $1,300. I look at that now and go, man, we should have sold that thing for like 10 times more. $1,300. And we make the pitch at the end of the webinar, and guess how many people buy? 10 people bought on the webinar. 10 people bought on our webinar. We fixed number 1 mistake, not having one pain point to focus on to solve. We'd fix that, right? It's just gonna be Facebook advertising. Mistake number 2, not taking people through a clear path A to Z. We'd fix that. We'd solve that part. We make this pitch the best offer that I think we've ever come up with up to this point. Our course plus Greg's course plus free, 10 hours of prepaid time with virtual assistants to help you with video editing, all these things that you would need to make campaigns. 10 people bought on the webinar for $1,300. We had done all of this work and we made $300 more than the first time that we sold our very first course, the digital marketing success course. Okay. So at this point, if you had guessed 1,300, only 10 bought. If you're watching this and you've been listening to the whole story at this point, then for those of you who guessed 3K, for those of you who guessed 6K, for those of you who had said double the income, triple the income compared to the first time, at this point in the game, a day after the webinar, we had announced the course purchases. We had not even doubled. We had hardly even we had 1.3 times what we had made in our very first course launch. Here's what changed the game though, because this story doesn't end here. Alex and I happened to do this webinar live in Florida. We had a retreat with Greg. We went out to breakfast the next morning with Greg, and Greg asked us how things went. And we were really excited. We had made like 1,300, maybe it was 13,000, maybe $15,000. At that point, by the morning, maybe another sale or two had come in. And we seemed kind of down, and Greg was like, what's going on? Why are you guys down? And we were like, well, we set a goal of selling like 25. We were hoping to get 25 people. We thought this offer was amazing. And he just looked at us and he goes, well, how many do you want to get now? And Alex and I looked at each other and we were like, I guess we'd be happy if we got 20 people to buy. So that was like 5 to 7 more people. And Greg, in his infinite wisdom, said, what I need you to do is I need you to go to everyone who signed up for the webinar, everyone who clicked on a link in any email you sent leading up to the webinar. I need you to go send them a Facebook voice message asking them one simple question. Hey, I saw that you signed up for the webinar. Or if we knew that they'd watched it, saw that you watched the webinar, I just wanted to reach out and see where you're at with your business and see if there's anything I can do to help you. I'm paraphrasing, not every single message ended up like that, but it was something like, hey, insert name, this is Will. I just saw that you tuned into our webinar the other night on Facebook advertising, and I was just really curious, how things are going with your business, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. That was it. I sent that voice message through my phone, through Facebook, to well over 150 people. And Alex did the exact same things. Over 150 people sending voice messages to everyone who had registered for the webinar, anyone who clicked on the link, anyone who had expressed any interest on it and followed up with it. All of a sudden, people are messaging back, telling us what they had, how they liked the webinar, how they thought it was really interesting, how they're at a point where they're not sure what they should do. They'd taken a course in the past, but they weren't sure if courses were the thing for them anymore, or they'd been burned by taking a course and just didn't get them the result that they wanted. Those phone calls were gold. I learned about every objection that everyone has ever had. And on those phone calls, I was able to overcome so many of those objections by just listening and being human. So Alex and I did that for a week. We got on calls with people. We kept sending voice messages. We probably sent well over 300, 400 voice messages to people. At the end of that week, we had sold well over $85,000 of that program. $85,000 plus of that course at $1,300. We went from $13,000 to $85,000 from sending 300 to 400 voice messages. We over 8x'd our return. Like we 8x, we beat it by 8 times what we did the very first time around. Now, for me at that point in my life, to think that we could do a week of making $85,000. Guys, I'd never even made $85,000 in like 2 years period of time. Now, granted, we had to split it plus taxes. It's not like it was like, whoa, go to Jamaica or anything. But I really want you to think about $85,000 in a week. If you, and honestly, it's not about the numbers. I tell you the numbers to spark like oh man, that's a lot more than I thought. And wow, that's a lot of money in a short time. But it came down to fixing these three big problems that we had, which is our very first course. Very first course, we had no specific one pain point that people had and we wanted to solve it. We didn't have one specific pain point that we were solving. We were trying to solve all pain points in one solution. And it was just too overwhelming. I look back at the amount of people who even went halfway through the course. It was minimal. It was just like, it was like, hey, do you want to take every college course on campus at the same time? You're like, hey, duh, I'm just going to stay in my room and cry because I can't do all of that. There's no way I could do all that homework. It was too much and it wasn't focused. So we solved that and said, we asked our people, we polled them, hey, what's the number one thing that's bothering you right now? Or what's the number one thing you want to learn right now? Facebook ads far outbeat any other option that was listed. Number two, we took them on a journey from A to Z. So in the first iteration of our course of Healthcare Digital Marketing Success, we just said, here, go, learn all of it. And there's not a clear outcome of what you're going to get. Essentially, our outcome was like, hey, you're going to be a lot better at online marketing. But it's not a clear, like, how does one measure that? How does one determine that? Versus round two, our Ads for Physical Therapists course was, you're going to go from not knowing anything about Facebook, not even knowing how to log into Facebook, to running an ad on autopilot that could be running 24/7 for you, to be working to bring you patients, to bring you clients, to bring you customers. That was the clear outcome. And then number three, notice number one and number two didn't just magically make everything better, right? We did the exact, pretty much the same amount of sales. Well, we did less sales, but more money. And we had made an incredible offer. Not only was it that course, but Greg Todd offered to put his own sales course on top of our course, plus 10 hours of prepaid virtual assistant time for only $1,300. Like, the greatest offer. I don't know that there will ever be an offer that will go out there like that again. I mean, it was just mind-boggling when I look back what was being offered in that. But even that didn't sell enough people, didn't really push the needle. So number three, what did we do? We followed up with people, and we followed up relentlessly with people, sending voice messages, emails, primarily Facebook voice messages. Hey, this is Will. I saw that you had registered for the webinar. Not sure if you got a chance to see it, but I hope that you're doing well. Super curious about your business. Would love to know more about it. What's one thing that you feel like you're really struggling with right now? I'd love to be able to help you if I can. And let it go. And naturally people would be like, yeah, it's, oh, hey, Will, thanks for reaching out. Wow, no one, here's a lot of what I got. Wow, no one's ever actually sent me a voice message before. Like, I usually get automated emails and I never know if the person's like genuine, but I just got a voice message from you. That's really awesome. Yeah, I would love to talk to you more about my business. And it's like, great, can we schedule a call at some point? I'd love to get on the phone with you and talk more about your business. Alex spent a week getting on phone calls left and right, talking to people about their businesses, learning what their problems were, and almost over and over and over and over and over again, it was, I need more patients. I don't have a consistent flow of patients. I was like, great, well, Facebook advertising is a tool that can help you. It's not going to solve all of your problems, but it's a tool that can help you bring more leads that you can then follow up with. And you don't have to put any more time than upfront of what you're putting into it. Changing those three things literally took me from working full-time home health to moving to PRN home health to our next course launch, which was all about our online business ignition mastermind program, to being able to leave practicing and treating in the clinic altogether. Now, these are the mistakes. There's a lot more that we're going to be talking about over the next week about like how to actually get ready to launch, how to even get to a place where it makes sense to launch. But it's so crucial that you learn from the mistakes that we made, the mistakes that cost us tens of thousands of dollars. I want to know right now, have you learned anything useful? What's the number one thing that you've learned from this today? I really want to know. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this on the replay, it would really mean a lot to me if you just tell me, If you'd let me know what you found most useful or the biggest lesson that you've taken away from what you've heard tonight. These are the three mistakes that cost us tens of thousands of dollars. And when we corrected those mistakes, we 8 times what we had done on our very first course launch. And I look back now and the residual effect of that course, it's probably led to well over $150,000 for our business. Like I just look at the outcomes of that, of the people who came through that then ascended into our mastermind after that because they got so much value out of the course. But those are our 3 mistakes. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments. I've got about 15 more minutes that I can answer any questions that you guys have pertaining to if you want to start a course, if you want to have an online business, if you have questions about advertising, marketing, sales. Feel free to drop them in the comments right now. I'm happy to stick around. If not, no worries. I know it's a busy Wednesday night, but let me know. I'd also love to know, what is the number one thing that you learned tonight? What is the biggest takeaway that you got from tonight? If you can leave that in the comments, that would make my night. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And otherwise, I'm not sure if I'm frozen. It looks like I might be frozen on the camera screen. But if you do have questions and you drop them in here, I'll make sure to get back and answer them. But otherwise, guys, those are the 3 biggest mistakes. Number 1, solve one clear pain point. Number 2, have a clear path A to Z. Have a clear path A to Z. And number 3, relentless follow-up with the people who have expressed interest in what you have. Those are the 3 things. Gail asks, how are you such an awesome guy, boss? Gail, lots of failing and not being, and failing until I could, until figured it out. Just had to keep pressing forward. Dustin says, learn to communicate. And thank you, Gail, by the way. I really appreciate the comment. Gail, you're amazing. If you see any of our videos on Instagram, on YouTube, that is Gail. Gail is collecting all this, all these videos. She's putting them up, making them look cool on Instagram and YouTube. If you need someone for your business to do that, reach out to Gail Gallio, look her up. Ask her how if she has room to work with you. She's getting snagged up left and right, so hopefully she still has room. Reach out to her. Dustin says, learn to communicate in a way your prospects want. Follow up and ask questions to prospective clients as to what they want. Money. Jeremy, thank you so much for hopping on. In this case, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. And as always, just keep pushing forward. Alex and I have some big news coming up in about, I want to say sometime in a week or so. So be on the lookout for that. You guys take care. Love you guys. We love this group. Keep pushing forward.